What's up YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Boss Recap, where we rate and analyze boss battles in our favorite video games. I'm your host DMLX, and today we'll be covering the hyper-stylized kung fu action roguelike, Sifu. Developed and published by French studio Slowclap, Sifu was released on February 8th, 2022, and has become one of my favorite action games in recent memory. The game is set in modern-day China, where players take control of a martial artist seeking vengeance on those responsible for their father's death. Basically the plot of most martial arts movies, with a mystical twist. Every time the protagonist dies, they are resurrected by a magical talisman and aged up, with the player's attacks dishing out more damage, but at the cost of reduced health, as well as a few wrinkles and gray hairs here and there. Eventually, when the player character becomes too old, the talisman's magic wears off, which can lead to the player dying permanently, thus having the player restart the level from the beginning and from the same age as their initial attempt. Gameplay heavily revolves around learning from one's mistakes and adapting to the environment around you, tearing through the ops with the use of throwable objects, melee tools, windows, ledges, and good old-fashioned fisticuffs. So don't expect to be able to button mash your way to victory in this one. The odds are stacked against you, and you'll have to master the art of Pakme Kung Fu to successfully complete your journey for vengeance while old dogging your way through the hidden corners of the slums to the dim-lit hallways of corporate towers. And with that being said, let's see who stands in our way in achieving absolute Wude. There are a total of 6 bosses in Sifu, and the way each encounter plays out is quite simple. Once you reach the end of a level, you'll confront each boss in a secluded arena-like setting, usually themed around a specific element. For example, Fajar is wood, Sean is fire, Kuroki is water, etc, etc. With a display of their health and structure bar located on the top middle of the HUD. Like any boss fight, there are strengths and weaknesses to look out for to properly defeat the opposition as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Learning certain techniques that will help counter specific attacks, or add more damage against the target will surely go a long way when dealing with these stress-fueled one-on-one martial arts duels. Also, every boss has a second phase to their fight, which leads to a change in scenery via cutscene and increase in difficulty to the fight, presenting the player with a more aggressive dance partner dishing out new forms of attacks you'll need to learn to counter/avoid on the fly. Now there are 2 ways to finish a boss in Sifu: the path of vengeance,
I have spent 8 long years preparing for this.
or the path of Wude. Path of Vengeance is a choice I guarantee 99%, no, scratch that, 100% of players will make upon their first initial playthrough of Sifu, which is showing no mercy by killing the opposition in brutal fashion. However, the Path of Wude is where you spare each boss, which provides an alternate cutscene that showcases the player being at peace with the assassin that killed their father. Now the only way to achieve this act of forgiveness is by getting into the second phase of the fight, completely breaking the boss's structure bar, not once, but twice. Then once you break their structure a second time, get in close and press the dialogue prompt spare, which pops up on the left D-pad. And voila, you successfully stop yourself from committing voluntary manslaughter that leads to a more hopeful ending, that is if you choose to spare every single boss in the game. I'm going to give Sifu's boss lineup an S tier rating, based on the game's overall difficulty and quality over quantity approach. Each boss is given their own unique fighting style, personality, and a balanced learning curve that players have a fair understanding of how to defeat them, as well as creative level design for each encounter, making the experience of playing through Sifu even more memorable. The Soulsborne award for the hardest boss fight goes to Yang, aka the leader. For me, Yang is the boss I died to the most during my first initial run of Sifu, seeing that this is the climactic fight that puts one's dodging skills to the ultimate test. So much so, I bet even Ultra Instinct Goku would be sweating profusely during this fight. The Great Mighty Pooh award for the worst boss fight goes to no one. Personally, I felt Sifu's combat design was quite exceptional, with each boss providing a fair challenge as you moved up the ladder, and left me satisfied whenever I came out victorious. Bowser Jr. award for the easiest boss fight goes to Sifu, aka the Father. Seeing that this boss takes place during the prologue of the game, where you take control of Yang infiltrating the dojo, where the player is invincible and cannot be defeated by any NPC, as well as have every moveset locked at your disposal, giving players many ways to lay down waste on the old man. Ultimately, it's a strong cold open to set the tone for the rest of the game and place the chain of events in motion for our hero's journey. The Golden Pickaxe award for the most creative boss fight goes to Kuroki, aka the Artist, simply for having the most diverse moveset, sleek animations, and inventive way of countering her attacks, as well as during the second phase of the fight, having the most visually appealing arena set in the game, which transports you into Kuroki's own spiritually artistic fueled headspace. The Ultimate Showdown award for the best boss fight goes to Sean, aka the Fighter. The build-up to this encounter as you fought your way through the club was well worth the wait. Seeing that Sean is arguably the most physically imposing boss in the game due to his sheer size, demeanor, and of course the bandages wrapped around his body. Not to mention the option to fight Sean in his own game by using a staff which is supplied all around his throne room during the first phase. And seeing that Sean represents the element of fire, during the second phase of the fight when he sets the room ablaze, the encounter ends up looking even more badass than before. Kinda like taking part in the third act of that Ninja Assassin movie. I'll admit it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's still a fun time nonetheless. And there you have it, that will do it for today's episode of the Boss Recap. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the boss lineup for Sifu, and would you be interested in a sequel for this game developed later down the line? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, it really helps me out. Subscribe for more content from me. I'm DMLX, and I'll see you in the future.